I stepped into my backyard that Tuesday morning, coffee mug in hand, ready to enjoy the sunrise, but I froze mid-step. There it was, mounted on the fence post between our properties, a sleek black camera with its lens aimed directly at my living room windows. My stomach churned as I followed the cable running from the camera to Karen's house next door. The HOA president had finally crossed a line that even she couldn't talk her way out of. Living in Pine Valley Estates meant dealing with the Homeowners Association, but nobody could have prepared me for Karen Mitchell. She'd been elected HOA president 6 months ago, and since then our once peaceful neighborhood had transformed into her personal kingdom. My family became her favorite target after I questioned a new rule requiring all garbage cans to be stored exactly 18 in from the garage wall. She measured mine at 17 in and fined me $50. That was just the beginning. Karen would patrol the streets every morning with her clipboard, documenting violations that existed only in her imagination. My daughter's chalk drawings on our own driveway and a warning for defacing community property. The tomato plants in my backyard were deemed agricultural violations. She even complained that my car's shade of blue was too vibrant for the neighborhood aesthetic, but installing surveillance cameras pointed directly into my home was something entirely different. This wasn't about petty HOA violations anymore. This was about my family's privacy and safety. I spent the next 3 days documenting everything. I took photos from multiple angles showing how the cameras were positioned to capture the interior of my home. I noticed there were actually 3 cameras, one aimed at my living room, another at my daughter's bedroom window, and a third covering my backyard patio. I researched local and state laws and discovered that recording someone inside their home without consent constituted criminal invasion of privacy. In our state, it was a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Karen grew bolder as the days passed. She'd make comments that sent chills down my spine. "Your daughter really should close her curtains when she changes," she said one morning, her voice dripping with false concern. "And that movie you watched last night seemed awfully violent, not very family-friendly." My hands clenched into fists, but I kept my composure. Every word she spoke was more evidence of her illegal surveillance. I compiled everything into a folder, printed screenshots of the state statutes, photos of the cameras, and a detailed log of Karen's comments. Then I drove to the police station. Detective Rodriguez listened carefully as I explained the situation. His expression grew increasingly serious as I showed him the evidence. "This is textbook invasion of privacy," he said, shaking his head. "And if she's been recording especially a minor's bedroom, we're looking at multiple felonies." The investigation moved quickly. Within 2 days, Detective Rodriguez called to inform me they'd obtained a warrant to search Karen's property and seize the surveillance equipment. He asked if I wanted to press charges, and I didn't hesitate. "Absolutely." I told him my family's privacy had been violated in the worst possible way. The next morning, I watched from my window as 3 police cars pulled up to Karen's house. She answered the door in her usual power suit, her expression shifting from annoyance to shock as Detective Rodriguez presented the warrant. "This is ridiculous," she shrieked, her voice carrying across the neighborhood. "I'm the HOA president. I have every right to monitor this community for violations." The detective's response was calm but firm. "Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." The entire neighborhood seemed to stop breathing as they placed Karen in handcuffs. Neighbors emerged from their homes, watching in stunned silence as the woman who had terrorized them for months was led to a police car. Inside Karen's house, investigators found a sophisticated surveillance setup. Multiple monitors displayed live feeds from dozens of cameras throughout the neighborhood, not just mine. She had been watching everyone. Hard drives contained months of recordings, including footage from inside people's homes. The evidence was overwhelming and disturbing. The story spread through Pine Valley Estates like wildfire. Within hours, an emergency HOA meeting was called. Board members, clearly panicked about potential lawsuits, voted unanimously to remove Karen from her position and revise all surveillance policies. They also voted to reimburse all fines Karen had issued during her tenure, calling them potentially invalid due to improper enforcement methods. Karen's arrest made The local news HOA president arrested for invasion of privacy. Ran across the evening broadcast. The reporter detailed how Karen had installed over 40 cameras throughout the neighborhood without permits or consent, specifically targeting homes of residents who had questioned her authority. Legal experts on the program explained that she faced multiple counts of unlawful surveillance, each carrying up to 5 years in prison. At her arraignment, Karen tried to justify her actions. She claimed she was protecting property values and ensuring compliance with HOA rules. The judge was not impressed. Installing cameras aimed into private residences, especially bedrooms, is a serious violation of privacy laws. He stated the fact that you recorded and stored this footage shows deliberate criminal intent. The prosecutor revealed that Karen faced 15 separate counts of unlawful surveillance, 3 counts of recording a minor without consent, and additional charges for harassment and stalking if convicted. On all counts, she faced up to 30 years in prison. The judge set bail at $200,000, which Karen posted using her house as collateral, but the criminal charges were just the beginning. Families throughout the neighborhood filed civil lawsuits seeking damages for invasion of privacy and emotional distress. Karen's professional life crumbled when her employer, a real estate firm, terminated her immediately, stating they couldn't have someone facing such serious privacy violations working with clients' personal information. The months leading up to the trial revealed even more disturbing details about Karen's surveillance operation during discovery. My attorney obtained copies of Karen's personal journals, which she'd foolishly kept on the same computer as the surveillance footage. The entries were shocking. She had detailed notes about every family in the neighborhood, including daily routines, personal habits, and private conversations she'd overheard through her camera's audio features. My family's section was particularly extensive. She knew what time my daughter did her homework, what we ate for dinner, even what TV shows we watched. One entry read, the Johnsons watched an R-rated movie with their 12-year-old present. Clear evidence of poor parenting must document for future HOA action. The technical analysis of her equipment revealed she'd spent over $20,000 on her surveillance NETW or high-definition cameras with night vision, motion sensors, and audio recording capabilities. She'd even installed software that used facial recognition to track when specific residents left or returned home. The system automatically flagged any unusual activity, which in Karen's twisted mind included things like having friends over past 9 p.m. or receiving more than 3 delivery packages in a week. What really sealed her fate was the testimony from other neighbors during the trial preparation. The Chen family revealed that Karen had used surveillance footage to blackmail them into withdrawing their complaint about a faulty HOA fence repair. She'd recorded a private argument between the couple and threatened to share it at the next HOA meeting unless they dropped their issue. The Williams family discovered Karen had been monitoring their teenage son's bedroom and had made inappropriate comments about his girlfriend visiting. Each story was more appalling than the last. Karen's defense attorney tried to argue that she had mental health issues, presenting evidence of obsessive-compulsive disorder and paranoid personality disorder. While this might have garnered some sympathy, it backfired spectacularly when the prosecutor pointed out that mental illness didn't excuse the calculated, deliberate nature of her crimes. She'd researched camera placements for optimal viewing angles, purchased equipment specifically designed to be concealed, and maintained detailed logs of her surveillance. This wasn't impulsive behavior, it was methodical criminal conduct. The final blow came at her plea hearing 3 months later. Faced with overwhelming evidence and the prospect of decades in prison, Karen accepted a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to 5 counts of unlawful surveillance and 1 count of criminal harassment. The judge sentenced her to 3 years in prison, 5 years of probation, and ordered her to pay $50,000 in fines plus restitution to all affected families. Additionally, she was permanently banned from serving on any HOA board and prohibited from owning or operating surveillance equipment beyond basic home security systems. Her real estate license was revoked and she was required to register as a privacy offender in our state's new database. As the judge read the sentence, Karen's carefully maintained composure. Finally, Cracked, she sobbed uncontrollably, her body shaking as the reality of her situation hit her. 3 years, she whispered in disbelief, her voice barely audible through her tears.